इधर चली मैं उधर चली, जाने कहाँ मैं किधर चली, हाय निकल गई, फिर एटीएम में आ गई, फिर एटीएम में आ गई। Hey folks, CA Rachana Ranade here and I welcome you all to another interesting IPO analysis video of AGS Transact Technologies Limited. Now, in this video, what all things are we going to cover? As usual, we are going to start with what does the company do? Then we are going to talk about the industry analysis. We are going to talk about the financials. We'll be talking about the risks, litigations, IPO details, and a very interesting fact coming in this company because the company is coming up with 100% OFS. Okay, I hope you know what is the difference between fresh issue and OFS. In a fresh issue, fresh shares are issued by the company and company gets the proceeds of the IPO. In an OFS, generally the promoter gets the money. It's not the company who gets the IPO proceeds. But in this case, it is actually an OFS, but ultimately company is going to receive the IPO proceeds. And I'm sure you might be like, asa kasa kai? So to know the answer, check out the full video. So now let's try and understand what does the company do. So in simple words, AGS Transact Technologies is the largest integrated omni-channel payment solutions provider in India. Was this simple? No. So let's try and understand what are the two keywords that we have to focus on. Number one, it is a payment solutions company. And number two, it offers its services through an omni-channel. So let's try and focus on these two keywords. What is the first one? It's a company which provides payment solutions. Payment solutions between two parties. Okay, payment solution for two parties. Whenever two parties are going to enter into any financial transaction, to simplify this transaction, to facilitate this transaction, whatever is the hardware or software or the technology whichever is required, that is provided by whom? That is provided by AGS Transact Tech. Now, these two parties could be individuals, it could be a company and a person, it could be a bank and a person, whatever is the scenario. Okay, so what do we mean by payment solution in simple words? Whenever I'm talking about facilitating a payment transaction between two parties, it is nothing but a payment solution. Simple, right? Next one is an omni-channel. Now, what do we mean by omni-channel? If I'm talking about this case, there are two major scenarios. One, the transaction can happen through physical method, or second, it can be through a digital method. What do we mean by physical method? Simple, it could be through an ATM. Transaction can take place through an ATM, or through a CRM. What is CRM? Cash recycler machine. I'm sure you might have gone in a place where you can deposit cash in a machine. That's like a cash recycler machine, right? Third one can be a POS machine. That's a point of sale machine. All these three examples are what? Of physical methods. Now, what could be the example of digital methods? For digital methods, it could be what? Internet banking. It could be mobile banking. It could be wallet transfers. It could be UPI. I'm sure everyone is very much aware of these. So all these technologies are powered through whom? Through whose technologies? Through AGS Transact Technologies. Now let's try and focus on the three major business segments of the company. The very first one is payment solution, followed by banking automation solutions and other automation solutions. Now the very first one is payment solutions, wherein 76.8% of the revenue comes from this very solution, right? So let's understand what do we mean by payment solutions in a little bit more detail, because in the previous section, what did we say? What is payment solution? It just facilitates the transactions between two parties. But how? In detail, let's understand one by one. The very first one is ATM and CRM. But here, they are not selling the ATM machine under payment solution services. What are they doing? They are giving outsourcing and managed services. So what do we mean by that? In simple words, outsourcing means, assume I'm AGS Transact Tech. I own the ATM machine. I'll manufacture the ATM machine and I can give it on rent. I can outsource it to whom? To the banks. Okay, possibility number one. Possibility number two, bank says, we have the ATM, but we have the machine, but we are not sure that where should we place it, where should be the site identification be done, how to manage it, how to deploy it, what should be the software in that. All these things we want someone else to take care of. So in such a case, AGS Transact Tech also manages the ATMs for the banks. So I hope you have understood this point. ATM and CRM, we are not talking about selling the entire ATM ka dabba. No, they are giving what sort of solutions? Outsourcing and managed services solutions, wherein they are going to do site identification, deployment, then maintenance of the ATM, the software, everything they are going to do for the banks, right? So I hope the first point is clear. Second one is cash management services. Now I'm sure you might have seen that many a times whenever you are on the roads, there are certain trucks which will come to the ATM, they'll refill the cash, right? Many a times it is also required that cash vaulting is to be done. There is cash in transit. All these things are again done not directly by this company but through its subsidiary, which is SVIL, Secure Vault India Limited, which is the second largest cash management company in India. The third one under payment solution is transaction switching services. Simple example of this can be internet payment gateway and mobile payment systems. Internet payment gateways, I'm sure you might have used something like a PayU Money for doing internet internet payment transactions, or it could be for mobile payment, it could be any wallets or UPI, right? Next one can be digital payment services. For that, examples are e-toll and transit solutions. No need for me to tell you. FASTag can be a classic example for that. And last one is POS machine, agency banking, prepaid cards. So POS machines, again, whenever you go to any shop or even in restaurants, you tap your card against a machine and your account will get debited, right? All these are provided by this company. Okay. So in simple words, I hope you have understood that the technology behind that is being enabled by this company. Who are their customers? Have a look at this. Oh my god. And these all major names, including ICICI Bank, HPCL, Dr. Lalpath, so many more names, right? So all these are the major customers of the company. Moving on to the second segment, which is banking automation solutions. 9.1% of the total revenue comes from this specific segment. Now, what do they do here for banking automation solution? The very first one is sale of ATMs and CRMs. Wait, you said our ATM was there in the previous segment only. In the previous segment, it was what? It was outsourcing and managing the ATM. Okay. Here, what are we talking about? Sale of ATM. The entire dabba is being sold by this company now with all the software also inside it. So this one comes under banking automation solution. Second one is what? Currency technology products. So I'm sure you might have seen such products where there are cash counting machines. There are machines which can try and identify which are the fake notes. All these are again provided by whom? By this company. Third example is self-service terminals. Okay, go back 10-15 years and imagine going into a nationalized bank. There used to be a person whose job profile was just to take a passbook from you. With a very amazing face, he will just print the passbook and with the same enthusiasm, he'll take it and give it back to you. That was his job profile for 8 straight hours, right? But now, with the help of technology, what do we have? We have passbook printing machines. We ourselves can do that job, right? With the help of technology. Who provides this? AGS Transact Tech, right? Next one is automated banking systems, wherein we also have automated check deposit terminals. Again, technology behind this is provided by the same company. And final other digital services like software customization, digital signage softwares and all that, right? Who are their customers? 50 banking customers, including ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Axis, and the list goes on, right? Moving on to the last business segment, which is other automation solutions. 14.1% of their total revenue is generated from this business segment. In this, what do we talk about? The very first one is supply automation products, wherein they talk about a lot of other points like remote management, support, and help desk services. But what do we mean by that? I think this point can be explained with the help of an example, right? The very first example can be of a customer which is like Kansai Nerolac and Berger Paints. I'm sure you have heard about this. Now, all these paint companies need automatic paint dispensers. Now, how much paint should be poured into a specific, what ratio and all that? Can that be also automated? Yes. Who is going to provide the automation? Again, AGS Transact Tech. Okay, number one. Number two, automation can be again for retail. I'm sure you have gone to stores like D-Mart or Big Bazaar. After you are done with the shopping, what is the biggest pain point? The big line near the billing counter, right? When you reach there, you might have seen billing terminals. Who builds these billing terminals? Who makes these? Who makes the technology behind this? Again, one of the companies is AGS Transact Tech, right? And the last one is petroleum, wherein you can imagine a company like HPCL, IOCL, BPCL. Of course, all these are the customers of AGS Transact. For them, what is crucial? How much petrol are we procuring? What is the stock that we have? At what price have we bought the petrol? At what price are we refilling this in the vehicles of different customers? How much petrol is being refilled in the vehicles of different customers? All these things have to be backed up with solid data, solid softwares have to be there, And who is the company who makes this? Best example again, AGS Transact Technologies. I hope you have understood all in all business segments with the help of loads of examples. Now with that, let's start with the industry analysis. A very interesting data point is going to come up at the beginning of the industry analysis, and just for you to give a hint of that, I'll just try and do a live demonstration here in my studio itself. You also answer this question by yourself as well. The question is that how many times have you recently visited an ATM in a month? How many times do you go to an ATM?
Zero.
Zero. Zero.
One.
Twice.
Once or twice. Okay. Don't ask me, I'm not going to give you an answer. Okay. Okay. But please ask yourself, how often have you visited an ATM? Many people might say that these days, so we just carry a mobile, and through the mobile, we can shop for anything and everything we want. So these days, we hardly have any cash in our wallets. Okay. That might be the notion of many people. But does that mean that the cash circulation in the country is going down? Does that mean that the digital transactions have surpassed the cash transactions? And if you want to know the answer for this, have a look at these charts. So this chart shows how much is the cash in circulation as a percentage of GDP. And how much is that? It's 14.5%. That is today's cash in circulation as a percentage of GDP. How much was it in 2018? It was 10.7% and was lower somewhere around 2016. All in all, to conclude, the total cash in circulation today is higher than the demonetization year. Okay, so that is the ground reality. Now let's move on with the discussion of how much are the cash transactions in comparison with non-cash transactions. Non-cash can include all like net banking and UPI and whatnot, right? Here if you see, all the accounted cash transactions are accounting for 89%. Non-cash mode is only 11%. This is the ground reality that everyone has to digest. Maybe people like you and me, few people who are staying in metro cities or tier 1 cities, they might not get this feel. But the moment you're going to tier 2, tier 3, the usage of cash ideally might be higher, right? Going ahead with the next discussion, which is India's ATM market as compared to global ATM markets. So if you see here, how many number of ATMs do we have? In India, we have 2,13,575 ATMs. Compare this with China. China has almost double. China has almost 5 times, 10,13,900 ATMs. And even a developed country like USA has more than 2 times ATMs than India has. Okay. One more very interesting data set is about ATM penetration. Now, what do we mean by ATM penetration? It talks about how many ATMs we have per 1 lakh people. Okay, so behind 1 lakh people, China has 70 ATMs. For 1 lakh people, USA, again a developed country, has 141 ATMs. And how much does India have? 15. Is there still a possibility that number of ATMs might increase? Yes. Again, I'm repeating, maybe then in metro cities, tier 1 cities, the growth might not be really high. But in tier 2, tier 3, in rural areas, maybe the ATM growth might be high. If you see even the data, it mentions this is India's ATM market excluding white label. Now, what do we mean by white label ATMs? These are ATMs set up by non-banking entities, right? Moving ahead with the last discussion for industry analysis, here we are talking about India payment industry and what are the different parameters that we are going to discuss. The very first one is UPI transactions. I'm sure you will agree with me that the number of UPI transactions has grown exponentially in the past 1 or 2 years. In 2019, the number of transactions, so this is about based on volume in millions, it was 5,391 in 2019 and which has shot up to 22,330 millions. That's an amazing jump in the number of UPI transactions. What about usage at ATMs? This has dropped from 9,869 to 6,100, and even usages at POS has dropped from 6,176 to 5,818. Two possible reasons, of course, could be due to corona, due to demonetization, but there is one more reason why the usage in ATMs has dropped drastically from 9,800 to 6,100, because it is mentioned that non-financial transactions in ATM, like what? Change of PIN, like what? Checking the account balance, these have now been excluded from the ATM transactions, right? So I hope you have understood all in all how the industry is placed at this scenario. Well, let's move ahead with the financial analysis of the company now. If you check the revenue from operations, you'll be able to see that from 2019 to 2021, the revenues have not been increasing. In fact, there is a slight drop in the revenues. Even if you're checking the 5 months ended data, it has dropped off to 7,534. So, if the company is able to generate revenue in the same proportion of the 5 months data, it might reach somewhere close to the FY21 figures. If I'm talking about the profit for the year before any taxes and all that, you can see that in this case also from 19 to 20 it had increased a bit, but then again in 21 it decreased, and for the 5 months ended data the company is in losses of 47 million. One of the reason for that might be, you can see that there is a sharp drop in other income from 382 millions to just 89 millions, right? If I move ahead with the balance sheet side, you can see here that for other equity is what reserves in surplus, that has been steadily increasing for the three financial years. Again, a slight drop for the 5 months ended data. One more point I want you all to focus on is the borrowings. Borrowings has been continuously increasing. If you're talking about the long-term borrowings, it has moved up from 3,200 million to 8,800 million, and because of which the debt to equity ratio is of course more than 1. Is the company planning to do anything is what we are going to talk about in the next section of the video, so stay on till then. Going ahead with the cash flow statement details, the most important I believe is the operating cash flows. One positive point is that all the operating cash flows for all 3 years are positive, but the negative or the drawback is that operating activities has been, cash flow has been continuously decreasing from 4,800 million to 4,175 million. If I talk about the key ratios of the company, the current ratio is at 1.4, which has improved from 2019 to 2021. Debt to equity has crossed 2, so it's 2.07. EBITDA margin is a pretty healthy margin at 26.53. PBT margin is okayish at 4.59. PAT is at 3.05. Not really happy with the ROE and ROCE percentages, which is 9.81% and 3.19% respectively. Now let's go ahead with the risks and litigations. If you see that in financial year 2021 as compared to financial year 2020, three major banks, which are these ICICI Bank, Axis Bank and Bank of Baroda, were contributing significant revenue out of the total revenue for the company. So if you see, ICICI Bank is alone contributing 17.8% of the total revenue from operations. Axis is contributing 14.5% of the total revenue from operations, and Bank of Baroda 7.1%. All these figures are a shade lower though as compared to 2020 figures. If I move ahead and if I compare 2019, 20 and 21, if I'm talking about top 10 clients contributing to the total revenue of the company, top 10 clients revenue has gone down from 67.6% to 62.8%. Is that a good sign? Yes, but still top 10 customers contributing to 62% of your total revenue, that is also high. So that is one of the risks of the company. What else risks is the business exposed to? One of them is it could be a loss in transit. Okay, so you can imagine that the company is also involved in refilling cash in ATM centers. Could that be a possibility that there is a driver who is carrying a lot of cash and अचानक से he feels आज कुछ तूफानी करते हैं, right? And you know what happens, right? Could that also lead to a loss in transit? Yes. Have these cases been mentioned in the RHP of the company? Yes, almost 12 to 13 cases where there has been a theft for loss in transit has been recorded in the RHP. There is also theft from ATMs, which has been mentioned in the RHP. There are cyber risks for payment gateways and a few more, where basically insurance amount is generally not full as compared to the loss. What do I mean by that? I'll give you a simple example. If you compare 2021 figures, the total loss you can see is 120 million, but loss not recovered in insurance is 20.25 million. And if you see, the total loss has been increasing from 2019 to 2021. So all in all these are the different types of risks which the company is exposed to. But if I talk about litigations, there are no major litigations that I came across in the prospectus. Let's go ahead with the IPO details now, and a very interesting point is coming up, so just hold on for another 1 or 2 minutes, right? The company is coming up with an IPO. IPO opens on 19th of January, closes on 21st of January. The IPO price has been done between 166 at a lower band and at an upper band of 175 rupees per equity share. Market lot is 85, is going to be listed on both BSE as well as NSE. Now comes the important point. It is going to be an offer for sale. Entire 680 crores is going to be for offer for sale. But what do we mean by offer for sale? If you remember in the beginning, that money is going to go to the promoter of the company. But if you check out the objects of the offer now, you will see that objects of the offer, okay, first one is carry out OFS, agreed. Second one, realize the benefits of listing, agreed. Third one is redemption or prepayment of the listed NCDs, and the amount of debentures is almost 5,689 million. Now the big question I'm sure is there in front of your mind is that how come is this possible that the debentures are on the books of the company but money is going to be received by the promoter? Who are the promoters of that company? For that, just quick information, Mr. Ravi Goyal and Vineha Enterprises Private Limited. These are the two promoters of the company, and they are holding 98.23% shares in the company, wherein public holds only 0.26%, employee trust holds 1.51%. Now coming to the important point wherein I'll explain how this entire OFS is going to look like. So first, what will happen? Number one, there'll be an IPO, there'll be an OFS. Okay. Now, whatever are the IPO proceeds, okay, that will flow to whom? Will it flow to the company? No, they'll flow to Mr. Ravi B. Goyal. Okay. Now, this money has to flow to whom? It has to flow to the company. Which is the company? AGS. Okay. So now Mr. Ravi will send this money to AGS, right? What is AGS going to give in return? It has to be a two-way transaction, right? So AGS will sell CCPS of Vineha Enterprises to Mr. Ravi B. Goyal. What do we mean by CCPS? It's compulsory convertible preference shares. In simple words, AGS sold their investments, their preference shares to Mr. Ravi Goyal, and in return, they received money from Mr. Ravi Goyal. Now, who has the money? Is this the IPO money only? Yes. Now, who has it? It is AGS who has the IPO money. What is AGS going to do with that? AGS is going to repay this money to whom? To the NCD holders, that are the non-convertible debenture holders. And this amount is almost going to be of 5,500 million. So all in all, if you look at this transaction, what has happened? In simple words, IPO proceeds have been ultimately used for the repayment of NCD holders, right? But then why this has been routed through Mr. Ravi Goyal? There might be one or two reasons for that. Number one, if you see, the promoter holding is almost around 98%. So maybe with this entire exercise, the promoter holding also reduces and company need not issue fresh shares for that. Second point is that if some people feel that, but what if this entire money which has been collected by Mr. Goyal, if that is used for some other purpose, then what? Is there any surety that the money will be used for the same purpose? So for that, there is something known as an escrow account. Okay. In escrow account, whenever money is deposited, you have to mention the reason for which money will be utilized from the escrow account, and it is very clearly given in their RHP also that money in the escrow account is going to be used for what? For the prepayment of or the repayment of NCD holders' money, right? One more important advantage of all these things is that their debt to equity ratio is surely going to improve because of the repayment of debt. I hope this entire diagram that you can see on the screen is absolutely clear. Going ahead with the valuation of the company, you can see that the EPS has been again decreasing from 5.58 in 2019 to 4.62 in 2021. The basic PE, if I'm talking about a price band of 166 to 175, at the lower end, the PE comes to 29.81, and the PE at an upper end of the price band comes to 31.41. With whom can I compare this? Unfortunately, there are no listed peers. But if I compare it with the Nifty PE, currently it's somewhere around 25. Okay, so I can say it's within the range of the Nifty PE. Neither too overvalued nor too undervalued is what I see. Return on net worth currently is at 10.29%. Again, it has gone down from 15.91% to 10.29%. P to BV currently is at 3.71, and even the NAV is at 47.11. All in all, I believe that if I'm comparing the financials with the valuation, I believe that because financials are not super strong as such, I believe the valuation that they have done is also not on a very high side. All in all, to conclude the entire discussion, I believe that I did like the overall business model of the company. I believe that in a country like India, payment solution is something which is a never dying business, right? The population is going to keep on increasing. The financial transactions are going to keep on increasing. So the business model all in all is pretty good. The industry also looks very positive and does have a lot of headroom left for it. Only thing on a comparatively negative side is the financials. I believe it has a lot of scope to improve, right? But if you even look at the valuations, as I mentioned, they don't look too steep as well. So the big question is that, am I going to apply or not? For that, you have to check out the live stream on 21st of January at 10:30 a.m. on our channel, CA Rachana Ranade. And if you want to know how do I analyze IPOs, you can click here. And if you want to know what are the IPO hits and misses of 2021, you can click here. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye.